Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am finally done with The Boy on the Wooden Box. Sorry it took me a while, I haven't been feeling good, but let's go ahead and jump right into it. So, this book is the companion to Schindler's List. So what I mean by companion is that this is written by one of Schindler's Jews, Layson, and let's just go ahead and jump right into it. So this book is such a really good book. I really did enjoy this book. There's definitely been a lot more addings. Like, what I mean by addings is that you get to see a different point of view of what Schindler went through to more of what one of his workers went through. And so the story starts off with Layson, if I can remember that's his name. Before he worked with Schindler, he was living a normal life until World War II started to happen, but it started in very, very slowly. Sorry, don't mind me. I'm just trying to find a particular scene in this book that I want to talk about because I think it's such a really good, like, example of what I mean by companion. So anyways, so Layson and his family are surviving Krakow, the ghetto, and him and his 5 siblings are with their parents. Their dad went off to go work in the city, and him and his mom and his siblings had a different, like, perspective on it. They didn't really like that they didn't like that he was so far away from his family and that anything could happen. So then they moved into the city, and that's when he started noticing how the Germans were treating him. So I found the chapter that talks about Schindler's List and the movie, because that's what's interesting too, is that this book, it does mention the movie, but it doesn't go into the movie. It's still based on his life. And there's one part in here that I want to read to you guys. Let's start with right here. 70 years later, I can still see him in my mind's eyes as the Nazis dragged him from the room. In the film Schindler's List, there is a scene where Oskar Schindler rushes to a train station to save his accountant, Itzhak Stern, who had been seized in a roundup. Schindler reaches the depot barely in time to yell Stern's name and pull him off the train just as it starts to move. What the film doesn't show is another scene that Schindler told my father about afterward. As he was frantically searching the cattle cars filled with people looking for Stern, Schindler spotted Salik and recognized him as his worker Moshe's son. He called out to him and told him that he would get him off the train. But Salik was there with his girlfriend Miriam. Since no one in Miriam's family was working for Schindler, there was nothing he could do to save her. Salik told Schindler that he couldn't leave Miriam. That is the kind of young man he was. He wouldn't desert his girlfriend even if it would have secured his own safety. So what's interesting about this is that once Layson's older brother Salik was rounded up and taken, this is where Schindler wanted to save him, but one of his workers said, no, I'd rather go with her than risk my own safety. And it's such, like, a good, like, scene, not just because of the history, but just because of what some of these people went through, in this moment in time. Like, there's so many others, but I think that was one that stuck with me the most, is about his older brother. And it's such a really good book. It's really good. And this book is actually written, or it's supposed to be written for children in 3rd and 4th grade. But in my honest opinion, I think it's just more of what the parents want them to learn at that age. Because for me, like I said, I grew up reading this kind of books in 2nd grade. This is my first read of this book, The Boy on the Wooden Box. And it's such a really good book. Another thing that I like about this book is that when they get to liberation, he tells us that that when being free, it wasn't easy as it seemed, because he had to start life from the next day as a free Jew. And even then, even though they were liberated and the war was basically over, they still dealt with Semitism. I think that's what the word is called, or that's how you say that word. Sorry. And it's interesting because as he's living his life in Krakow, his family want to go back to where they originally were from, but they were told they shouldn't. So they ended up making plans to come to America. So they end up going to another camp. But at this camp, there's different people that have dealt with what the Germans did to them. So everybody, from what he was saying, everybody was talking about like what they went through, how they suffered, that they didn't suffer as bad as they did, that they didn't witness the deaths that they witnessed. And in my opinion, yeah, you guys suffered the same thing, just not in the same way, but you guys still suffered together in with the Germans and what the Nazis did. So it's just, so to me, it didn't bug me. It just made me feel like, come on, you guys, you guys went through the same thing. This is where you guys should be coming together and being friends. But I guess in that day and age, it makes sense why it was the way it was. But when you continue reading, this is his life after the war. He does coming to America and going to school, graduating, becoming a doctor. And he talks about on one of his days as he was leaving school, he was on the bus and he wanted to sit at the very back of the bus to get some shut-eye. But the bus driver stopped the bus, went up to him and said, no, you can't sit there. That's for black people. You got to sit up front. And he was very confused on why this was happening in America, especially where he was at. And he just didn't understand why it was still happening. And so that was just something else that he witnessed. Not as the person being oppressed, but seeing how unreasonable it was to oppress somebody who is different than you, and it just didn't make any sense. So to me, I'm like, oh wow. Another thing that I really like about this book is that, when you talk about Schindler's List, you see all the names that he have written down. Now, what's interesting about this boy, Laysan, is that his name was originally on the list, but somebody crossed out his name and said that he couldn't go to work with Schindler, but he risked his safety to try and basically plead his case with the Nazi soldier and said, no, I was on that list. My name is on that list. They just took my name off the list. They crossed me out. See, look, you can see where my name is crossed out. And the German soldier, as Laysan said, is that he could have killed me, but instead he didn't. And to me, I'm just like, wow, that is such, it's scary to think about it, because it's like at any day and age, your life could be over, but with But with the Jews in this World War II era is that they basically, like at any given day, they could have died. And in each day that they don't die, they're grateful. So it's like, wow, you know? And then you can see him with where he was born, his family, him graduating, and then just his life. And I think that's such, this is one of the Schindler's Jews that I've read about, and I do want to read more about his other Jewish workers that worked for him, and I want to know more in different perspectives of what they went through, because there's so much that could be filled in on just World War II alone. Like, not everybody, there's a lot of information, but most of that information has been destroyed by the Nazis when they knew they were going to be destroyed by the Allies. So it's, I just want to learn more. I just want to know more about this era. So yeah, other than that, I'm going to rate this book a 5 out of 5. I really did enjoy this book. If you have not read The Boy on the Wooden Box and you love World War II, or you like reading about World War II, I suggest you start with this one. Even if you're a first-time reader, this book is it's a very light read. It's hefty, meaning that it's heavy. It's there's a lot of emotions going through it, but if you are a tough person, then I suggest you read this book, and you can finish it in about a day or two. I just took longer because I haven't been feeling good, but other than that, I finished it, and I'm like, okay, well. So, with that being said, I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.